everyone. Welcome. My name is Menachem Creditor. It's my honor to serve as scholar in residence and rabbi for UJ Federation of New York. We bring you Torah and music, blessing, and community every weekday. We've been doing so since March 18th, 2020. Today is Friday, March 1st, 2024. That is almost 4 years to the date when we began this community. It is broadcast 1004, and it is day 147 of this war with Hamas since October 7th. You and I, friends, have been through so much, but what has been constant is that we've had each other and that we've learned Torah. Those are no small things in our world. To be able to expect each other, to learn together, to see each other's names and faces, and to check in to see how we're doing. Penny, it's so good to see you. Michelle and Jonathan, Boker Tov. Joyce, Caroline, Debbie, good morning. Minna and Ron, Boker Tov. Lydia and Jerry. Jerry, your sister is in Israel. I've been tracking her trip. She's there with UJA leaders. I am so moved by her presence there and her work always, and her heart always, and her brother. Hannah and Heather, Deborah and Rosa, good morning. Masiek, Dale, Amy, and Joyce, good to see you. Adrian, oh, Arlene, you're here. So moved to see you. You visited a camel farm just now, 7 kilometers from Gaza. I hope that you're having, a time of strengthening, and that you're bringing your full heart, which I know you always do. Barbara and Robin, good morning. Penny, thank you for reminding us it's broadcast 1007. Judy, you're leaving for Israel on Sunday. Carry us with you. Arlene and Stanley, Adrian, good morning, my friend. Richard, good morning. Janice and Mark, good to see you. Hi, Debbie. All right, let's get started. Thank you. Who just posted that? Ellen, thank you for letting me know that there's a reel about my dear friend who was murdered on October 7th. Her name was Vivian Silver. I'll look when we're done with our broadcast. Thank you for that. Fran, your children visited Hostage Square yesterday. Thank God for our family showing up for our family. Eileen and Patty, Boker Tov. Here we go. Let's take a breath. Sending love, Fabrice, to you in Paris. Let's sing a blessing. Learn some Torah. Here we go. So good morning, everybody. It's good to see that we're all here, getting ready for Shabbat, holding our whole family, holding our homeland in our hearts. Today I'm going to venture into territory language that I haven't been using for the last 147 days. But let me give us the context first from the Parsha, and then wish us a thoughtful Shabbat, a strengthening Shabbat, a Shabbat of rest, but also the inner work of remembering our souls and our intentions. So, Parshat Tissa that we're reading this week is about a moment where we fail. We do. Our security blanket Moses ascends the mountain and is hidden from our sight. And so we are ensured that we will be safe. The intensity of that moment should not be lost on us. We have barely breathed free air, and and then Moses disappears for 40 days. And whether or not we know that he's coming down or we miscount the time, there's something very, very unnerving about not seeing Moshe while he's away, getting the Torah for us. God knows what we are doing. We are beginning to lose our nerve. We gang up on Aaron and we demand of him that he makes an idol, so that, or make a god was the language of the Torah, so that we could have a way of pointing to the divine and feeling safe in the world. And God gets angry. God gets very angry and says to Moshe, "Get out of my way. I'm going to destroy the people and start again with you." That is anger. Anger. So that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about anger. Our anger is righteous. We, as a people, not only were terribly violated, assaulted, murdered, and worse than that on October 7th, and you don't need me to amplify the intensity of all the headlines. I will be talking about it over and over until we are healed, which might not actually be a thing. But our anger, just like God's, can be very destructive. That's what I want to talk about. I want to read you language from teachers of mine. This is language from Rabbi Daniel Hartman and Dr. Yehuda Kurtzer from the Hartman Institute. Listen to the language. The premise of Israel as a sovereign nation is that we are responsible for what takes place under our rule and watch. This is true in peacetime, and it is also true in war, when the territory of the enemy and the civilians living in it come under our control. This is the deep meaning of the Torah text of the beheaded heifer, the Egla Arufa. If you're in charge, you're in charge. It doesn't matter whether you are directly responsible for the violence that takes place under your aegis. You spilled the blood, meaning the moral responsibility for all of this, is on Hamas, and Hamas alone. But still, we are the ones acting in Gaza right now. Not alone, and under terrible circumstances, and in the aftermath of terrible devastation and trauma. The fight is just. And I want to be hesitant here and cautious, because much of the reporting of the media of what's been happening in Gaza over the last 147 days has been mistaken, has been assuming the worst of Israel and basing its reporting on claims of a terrorist organization, Hamas, which ostensibly is the elected official government in Gaza. So I'm sharing all of this with you. Moved, by the way, Linda, that you're coming to us in Mumbai right now. Wow, is that amazing? I'm sharing that with us because there are disturbing images and footage clips being released about Gazan civilians going en masse to a place of food aid and foreign aid that was coming into Gaza. And there was a terrible loss of life. And I won't label it. I won't say that I know the facts better than anyone else. And I will never assume the worst of our chayalim and chayalot, of those fighting for our lives on behalf of our homeland in Gaza right now. I don't know more than anyone else. And I do know, Deborah, you're repeating it, that the Palestinian Health Ministry in Gaza is, of course, just a front for Hamas. I know that. But I want to read you just a little bit more about what Rabbi Daniel Hartman and Yehuda Kurtzer say. The state of Israel is responsible and must take responsibility for the deaths of the more than 100 residents of Gaza who died tragically yesterday as they desperately sought food for themselves and their families. Even as our news media debates the number of dead and the proximate causes, whether by trampling or the gunfire of soldiers who perceived a threat to themselves. In a moment like this, of immense human tragedy, we must stop a relentless pursuit of self justification and self righteousness and simply take responsibility. The tragedy took place under our watch, and therefore we are responsible. The fact of the just cause for Israel's war against Hamas and the villainy of the enemy still require the war to be fought justly. When we say Am Yisrael Chai, friends, when we say Am Yisrael Chai, we mean it. We will fight for our lives, and it is clear that the moral culpability for this entire war is on Hamas. That's not up for debate. But I'm not attacking God when I look at this text and I see God's anger as a cry for help. God says to Moshe, out of God's deep anger, leave me alone, let me be, so that I can destroy Bnei Israel and start again with you. That obviously is coming from a place of righteous indignation. How much more righteous can it be than God's anger when we start worshiping an idol? That is as righteous as it gets. The moral culpability, I see Deborah quoting me, that's right. The moral culpability for this whole war is on Hamas. That's not a question. But we exercise great power as a people. We ached for self-determination, and that requires an army. And that army is the source of power right now. We are a powerful presence in Gaza. And the death of more than 100 people who just needed food happened on our watch. I want to read you words from one more teacher of mine, from Rabbi Matthew Berkowitz, who lives in Jerusalem. It is important to read words like his. And I have not taken the moment to do such self-reflection and even self-critique, but I'm watching, again, our sisters and brothers in Israel, families of hostages and missing people, families of fallen soldiers, begin protesting the government's process again. We have to be present in all of these textured ways. We must act as responsible, powerful people. We are not the powerless people of 2,000 years of exile anymore. We succeeded in coming home, and we will defend our home, and we will be our best selves and call ourselves out when we fall short, just as God does. God says to Moshe, leave me alone. If that isn't a cry for help, what is? And in our righteous anger, we must also be able to breathe our way into sane and self-accountable thinking. Listen to these words from Rabbi Berkowitz. I too am horrified by civilian Palestinian suffering. The images of Palestinians stampeding for humanitarian supplies and the lives lost is painful to me and should be painful to every Jew and every human. On some level, it doesn't matter that every life lost in Gaza is the responsibility of Hamas, a truth I subscribe to wholeheartedly. In addition to the voice of vengeance, there is a profound Jewish voice in me that cries out, stop the madness, bin fol oivecha al tismach, in Proverbs. One cannot rejoice in the downfall of one's enemies. The anger and loss I am feeling these days, says Rabbi Berkowitz, is mourning for the loss of hope and optimism. Palestinians need to learn to love themselves far more than they hate us. And Israelis need to break free of the cycle of trauma that plagues and paralyzes our every move. Yes, we live in a dangerous world that contains real evil, and that evil needs to be confronted and wiped out. But the moment we let our anger conquer us, such that we lose our Jewish souls, then we have truly let the enemy defeat us. And so, Rabbi Berkowitz ends with a prayer, 2 asks, requests of the divine. And I'll echo them with my amen. May each of us learn to pause in our anger, to listen compassionately, and to remember the importance of relationships in our personal and national lives. May this Dvar Torah, Rabbi Berkowitz's Torah, give you plenty of food for thought around the Shabbat table, and please do share those thoughts. Friends, would I judge us for our anger? Of course not. Do I think we bear moral responsibility for the atrocities of October 7th and the aftermath? Of course not. Do I think we are called by our gorgeous tradition to always strive to be the best selves we can be and to wield power ethically? My definition of Zionism has become the ethical use of power we wish we didn't need. We do need it. What we do with it matters, and the souls with which we wield power speak to us. Our ancestors ached for the rights that we have achieved, and they would say to us too, be responsible with the power that we bequeathed you, that you achieved through mighty striving. I don't think I feel settled about this, and I'm not suggesting that we know all of the facts on the ground. We should be judicious about how we experience news, especially as it is recently reported. We have work to do, friends. We have work to do, not alone. And we have responsibility, not us alone, but we have the responsibility to wield our power like menches. That's what home means too. Let's sing in solidarity with our home. Let's work on our inner selves. Let's recognize the righteousness and the dangers of anger. Let's hold our sisters and brothers in our hearts as we fight for them. We're going to Shabbos, friends. Let's sing Hatikva. Kolon balevav penima nefesh Yehudi homia ulefate mizrach kadima ayin letzion tzofia. עוד לא עבדה תקוותנו, התקווה בת שנות 2000, להיות עם חופשי בארצנו, ארץ ציון וירושלים. להיות עם חופשי בארצנו, ארץ ציון וירושלים. Shabbat Shalom, dear friends. Bring them home now. Am Yisrael Chai. See you on Monday. Shabbat Shalom.